Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and I'm extremely excited, extremely stoked to bring you guys my thoughts on the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 multiplayer beta here on the PlayStation 4. Just went live yesterday. Those of you on the Xbox One, you'll have your chance to check out the beta come August 26th if you pre-order. Sadly, they are putting it behind a pre-order paywall. But marketing, I mean, it's business, that's what they're doing, whatever, you know, I'm over it. So let's actually talk about the game, because I think there are actually a lot of reasons to look forward to this and to put it on your radar if you're a Call of Duty fan. There are those of you that are immediately going to be turned away by this video, turned away because it's Call of Duty. I say, that's your choice, that's your thoughts, but maybe stick around and let me talk to you a little bit as to why I think Treyarch and the work that they've done on the Black Ops series has made a standout, you know, set of entries in the Call of Duty franchise that I think are worth playing as first-person shooters, as well as Call of Duty games. Black Ops 1 and 2, to this day, are some of my favorite first-person shooters, and easily two of the best entries in the Call of Duty series. There's something that Treyarch knows how to do, and that is how to create really enjoyable gun and gameplay. Small things like the tomahawk, the throwing axe. These are components that are very skill-based. They provide a nice little touch to what is already a really great, solid shooter, experience, and they just make the game fun. And there are a lot of those components here inside of Black Ops 3. A lot of it's based around the specialist system and the different pieces of specialist equipment. And overall, it's just been a really great experience. I think going on 3 hours now that I've spent with the beta, it's just been an absolute joy. There's a lot of things that I'm really excited about, and there's a lot that isn't here yet. This is just a beta. It's not finished. They're still doing a lot of work with the servers, but they're slowly introducing things over time as well. We're going to see new content introduced over the course of the beta period. We're going to see the level cap raised. They're already talking about raising the level cap tomorrow, possibly, to level 34, and adding in uplink as one of the game modes. So, you know, there's changes happening in the beta, but just keep in mind that not everything is here, not everything is displayed and represented. That will be in the final game. Now, if you want to go ahead and skip ahead, ignore me talking here at the menus, because there is some stuff we're going to cover, things like the specialist, and a couple of the new components that are being introduced inside of the created class. You can go ahead and click the annotation, and you can head right into the combat. I've got some pre-recorded gameplay I'm going to be talking over, and giving you guys my impressions on the actual gameplay of the multiplayer beta here on the PlayStation 4. But if you want to stick around, let's get this thing rolling. We're going to go ahead and we're going to check out the specialists first, because of course specialists are at the core of the Black Ops 3 multiplayer experience. These are brand new characters. So you're no longer just playing some random Joe Schmo army running around with his Green Ranger cap shooting other dudes in the face with his M16. No, these are full-blown characters. They have call signs, they have appearances, they have personalities, they communicate with one another on the battlefield, whether it's offensively or cooperatively, and they each bring their own bit of flavor to the fight. Not only in their appearance, but also in their two specs. You can bring one of two specs to the battlefield. When you go ahead and you boot up the multiplayer for the very first time, you're given one unlock token, and you have to decide which specialist you want to enter the fray with first. I actually went with Outrider, but you can see you have a few options here. We've got Battery, we've got Prophet, Outrider, and Rune, each, as I said, with two specs. Now, you can only activate and use one of these specs at a time. The same thing goes for Specialist. One specialist can only be used during any given match. You cannot jump between specs or specialists within a match like you can weapons and created classes. So whatever, you know, specialist you choose, if I choose Outrider and I hop into a game of TDM, that's who I'm using for the rest of the match. If I happen to choose her Sparrow ability, that's the ability I'm using for the rest of the match. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Now you can see there's some stuff that's going to be unlocked when I hit level 22. We've got Seraph, Nomad, Reaper, as well as Spectre, and there's also a classified character that we're unaware of yet. So hopefully more of the stuff will unlock through the course of the beta. And of course, as I said, there is a current level cap. I really don't know what it is because I haven't gotten to it yet. I'll be completely honest, I haven't seen anything on the net about it. I haven't really searched for it. But I know that it's lower than level 34, and they're looking to raise it to level 34 tomorrow. So I don't have everything unlocked, but I have had a chance to mess around with a few of the specialists and a few of the weapons in the game as well. So let's do that. Let's briefly look at some of the other things here. Score streaks. A lot of the score streaks are returning from Black Ops 2. You'll see there's a bunch of new score streaks that I don't know what they do because I haven't unlocked them, and neither have a lot of people in the game because they're 45, 39, 49, so we'll have to see what actually gets unlocked throughout the course of the beta so we can finally check these out. But some returning favorites: Hellstorm Missile, Lightning Strike, we've got the UAV of course, and the RCXD, which can now thrust power jump and drive on vertical surfaces because it is now a hover RCXD, which is pretty awesome. Moving into the creator class, Pick 10 returns. Yes, the Pick 10 system that Treyarch themselves created is back in Black Ops 3. New layout, I like what they've done with it. You can see that we can automatically activate a wild card just by going to an additional slot. Just a really great system. I think it's one of the best additions the franchise has ever seen. I'm happy to see it return and, you know, still be just as great as ever. Now, the game does use the token system that has been in several of Treyarch's games. So everything you unlock, well, not everything, nearly everything you unlock in the game by reaching a certain level. Once you reach that level, you can then purchase that item or that gun with an actual unlock token. However, attachments for weapons are unlocked purely by leveling up the guns. It's a system that's been in Call of Duty before, it just makes sense. If I use Man of War for 25 hours, I want to be rewarded for doing so, and it shouldn't cost me any tokens. That's something that Ghost did. It was a terrible move. I'm glad it's gone. It's nice to see that my Man of War is level 8. That's given me the ability to use 3 different reflex sights. We've got Quick Draw, Suppressor, a Grip, or High Caliber, and you can see there are a bunch more as they move down throughout the weapons level. Now, this is what I want to talk about. This is all familiar, right? Everybody recognizes this. If you've played a Call of Duty game, you're like, great, that's fine. However, there's a couple new things that are being introduced in Black Ops 3 that I want to talk about. One is available in the beta right now. That is the ability to add paint jobs to our weapons. So you can actually go into the paint job editor. You can edit the top, left, and right sides of the receiver only on the gun, and you can pretty much go crazy with it. I imagine people are going to make some pretty sick designs. I've just done some really basic stuff on a couple of my classes because I just, you know, like to keep it simple. It's nice to be able to customize it. I'm sure when the full game comes out, I'll spend like 5 hours just making a frickin' Tony Mo logo from the YouTube channel just because I want people to see it when they kill me and pick up my gun and run around the map murdering people with it. And I think that's one of the great additions that, like, you know, the emblems, the camos, and now the paint jobs have always brought to Call of Duty is that, you know, that level of customization that the guns have, and the fact that when you die and drop it on the battlefield, if somebody picks it up, that carries over. They see your paint job, they see your emblem. I always loved that in Black Ops, and I'm glad to see it being taken one step further. Now, there is another addition, as I said, that isn't in the beta right now, and that is the Gunsmith. Part of the Gunsmith is going to be the ability to have alternate variants for optics like the reflex sight, or perhaps, you know, an alternate variant for the quick draw, or for the foregrip, or for the suppressor. All of these will be customizable inside of the Gunsmith. So you'll go ahead, you'll hit the start button here, you'll see we have our paint shop, and you'll have the Gunsmith, and you'll be able to tweak the suppressor appearance, the red dot appearance. It'll be purely aesthetic, purely a visual change, but again, it's going to allow you to really customize your Man of War, make it your Man of War. And when people pick it up, they're going to recognize that. Maybe they'll get, you know, oh man, you know, a bit of a creative idea from it. Man, I really like that suppressor. What if I mix that with my current paint scheme and, you know, my barrel? I just think it's an awesome system. I hope that they give us a chance to check it out in the beta because I really want to play with that. To me, that's like the icing on the cake. You have a really solid core gameplay experience. You know, really great gameplay, keeps you coming back, keeps you grabbing your friends, playing another game of Hardpoint, and then you have, you know, the basic layers of customization for your weapons, the paint jobs. Now it's like, boom, one step further. You're that hardcore guy. You always run your Man of War in this type of situation. Here's what your Man of War can look like because you made it look like that. That's just awesome. Of course, calling cards, emblems are returning. You can see we've got some other stuff here that is still classified, so I think there's some stuff that Treyarch isn't telling us about. That's okay, I'm fine with that. Can't wait to see what some of those surprises are. But let's go ahead, let's move into some gameplay. I've played as a couple of different specialists. We're not going to talk about them on an individual level. We're just going to talk about my overall experience with the gameplay in Black Ops 3. Because I think there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of familiar stuff. There's a lot of new things, and I think there's a lot of positives that Black Ops 3 is bringing to the table. Things that really make it stand out in the franchise, and I think that are going to make it a heavily replayable multiplayer experience. So let's talk gameplay, because gameplay is of course king. Actually, let's start by talking audio, because you know what? Audio is also king. It's like gameplay and audio, king and queen. And graphics, they're kind of like the jester. He's just there. He makes the other two sort of happy. And as I already said, the game does look pretty. So let's go ahead The game does look pretty. That's a good one, Tony. Let's go ahead and talk about the audio design, right? Because over the last couple entries, Call of Duty has really delivered from an audio standpoint, and I think that Black Ops 3 is most definitely the best that I've heard in the series thus far. Honestly, this game sounds amazing. There's an exceptional amount of audio detail, right? It's not just about the sounds themselves, because a lot of them are really dead on, but it's where the sounds have actually been put. You know, when you're wall running, you get this sort of metallic clank, almost like your boots are magnetic, possibly some sort of gravity devices. They sound awesome. Reloading the weapon, there's a sound effect for every single slap and piece of mechanical movement. It's outstanding. There's an insane amount of diversity amongst all of the different weapons. No two submachine guns, no two assault rifles, no two sniper rifles sound alike. Each weapon has its own signature sound, and you can hear that. You can tell when someone else is using a man of war. You can tell when someone else is using a dingo. I love that. I like being able to say, he's got this, he's got that, you know? And even the specialist weapons, they really stand out. They have some really wonderful pieces of sound design. So that to me was really important. I love the focus on that. And it also helps in a gameplay standpoint, because not only does the game have, you know, great sound design, all those little bits and pieces, but they've brought back the emphasis on player movement. So you can really hear the footsteps of other players if you're playing with a proper headset. You know, whether it be stereo or surround sound, you're going to hear those footprints, and you're going to be able to use that as a gameplay mechanic. It's, you know, it's an advantage to the person who decides to really listen to the game. Hear those footprints. You can tell when someone's running a corner. You can pre-fire. It's something that was huge in Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and kind of got taken away in Black Ops 2. It made me very sad. I'm really happy to see it back. I love the fact that the game, you know, can be taken to that level if you want to do so. You're going to see the benefits from playing with something like a headset. And really, to me, that was something that I really adapted to in the original Black Ops. I played with headphones big time. I pre-fired, I knew when people would come around the corner, and I built my playstyle around that. So I'm excited to be able to do that moving into Black Ops 3 this November. Now, there's other small pieces. Like I said, there's, you know, the specialists. They now talk. They communicate with each other. They, you know, they call out KIAs on other specialists. They kind of let the player know via audio cues when their special ability is actually up. So not only do you see it on the screen, it pops up, it tells you how to activate it, but at the same time you have the specialist calling out like, hey, Tempest ready, you know, I defeated this guy, battery defeated. It's just, it's nice. It's not overdone. It doesn't get tiring. It just kind of brings a little bit more life to the characters on the battlefield. Again, helping personify them as more than just, you know, Joe Army with his Ranger hat and his M16. So I'm all for that. I like what they've done. Overall, the audio blew me away. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Stoked about Footprints. Let's actually move on and talk about the King, which of course is gameplay. Now, this is a Call of Duty game, right? It feels like a Call of Duty game. However, initially, it doesn't. It's a game that felt kind of foreign at first. There's a lot more weight to the weapons. They feel more meaty, right? Like, submachine guns still feel light, but they feel like they're there. I just think weapon handling has been improved drastically over Black Ops 2. And even drastically over Advanced Warfare, because that's really the game that a lot of us are coming from. So I think it's fair to make that comparison. And then when you move into the actual light machine guns, the sniper rifles, they all feel like they've been put into perspective, right? The sniper rifles, they feel long, they feel kind of cumbersome. They don't feel like they're really efficient up close, which is a nice change for once. I'm sure that people will find a way to quickscope and be really adept with sniper rifles in close quarters where they shouldn't be. But I feel like they've done some things to the handling to try and prevent that. And overall, it just makes it means that the different weapons, they feel more diverse. They feel more like their own gun, you know? They don't kind of all just meld together. And that, I think, is something that Treyarch has always done very well. You know, to me, the weapon design and the handling in Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1 was fantastic. I didn't think they could really refine it anymore, but they have in Black Ops 3. It stands out, it feels better. Now, from a more direct gameplay perspective, there has been a slight increase in the emphasis on the importance of headshots. This isn't Halo. This isn't Counter-Strike, you know, you're not like required to land successive headshots to be successful with a battle rifle like you would in Halo, but there's definitely been an increased damage bonus to those who choose to land headshots, and you can drop players much more quickly. And with the introduction of several semi-automatic and burst fire assault rifles like the Shevo, which is semi-automatic, you know, headshots are definitely going to be important to certain players who seek that sort of playstyle. And I think it's nice to give people the option to focus on that and to be rewarded for doing so. And you also see that Battery, her defensive perk, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that actually highlights the fact that that is her only weakness when she's using that. Her entire body sort of glows this orangey color to say that she is impervious to bullets. However, you can still headshot her. So, you know, there's definitely a little bit more of an emphasis on headshots, and I think that's a good thing, because I think that focus that Bungie kind of made infamous with Destiny for console shooters, with Halo for console shooters, and has carried over to Destiny, definitely adds to the gameplay. It adds a layer of depth, and it provides a reward for more skilled players. And I understand that's something that they don't want to focus on too much in Call of Duty, because it is a game that is supposed to be very, very available. It's supposed to be playable by all sorts of skill levels. I think that still remains intact, but again, there's just a little bit more reward for those of us who can land a consistent headshot, and I am a-okay with that. Now, I would like to say that when I've played a Black Ops 3 multiplayer, I've noticed two specific sort of skill curves that have been added to the game. You know, extra layers of skill, extra layers of depth, you know, that will really kind of test and challenge and require players' skill growth throughout the course of the game's, you know, lifetime, whatever you want to say. Number one is a new movement system. Basically, this new movement system just provides the player with a exceptional level of navigation. You can really traverse the levels rapidly. You can traverse them more efficiently. There's a higher level of verticality to the map design, and the new movement system sort of lends itself to that, right? It stands out. By allowing the player to wall run, to boost jump, to boost slide, you know, to manipulate the character in a way that we really haven't seen in a Call of Duty game before. It definitely feels different from what we saw in Advanced Warfare, and I think that's good, because I don't think Advanced Warfare handled the thrust packs and all of that very well. It just didn't make sense. It felt like it didn't need to be there. The boost system inside of Black Ops 3, it feels like it makes sense. It feels like it's there not to provide a method to dodge enemy fire, or, you know, to sort of like, you know, evade, or to trick another opponent into having more of a hard time shooting you. It's more about using it to, you know, gain a flank on the enemy, to get to a certain vantage point that's going to provide you, you know, just with the ability to do more damage on the battlefield in any given situation. It's just a great implementation. It makes sense. It doesn't feel unnecessary. They've done a bang-up job of it. I'm not going to try and talk about it anymore, because it's as simple as that. It works. It's great. I love it. I'm glad it's here. Now, the second layer of depth that's been added to the game are the specialists themselves and their actual skills. Now, I mentioned Battery and her defensive skill. I didn't mention earlier is that basically each of the specialists have those two skills, right? One skill is offensive and one skill is defensive. One skill is going to allow you to get more kills, and one skill is going to allow you to stay alive longer in one form or another. Each of those skills really feels hardcore, like there is a lot of depth to them, and there's a lot of layers to master before you can actually be really effective. Whether it be Outlander's Bow the Sparrow, which I found to be really hard to use, especially when I first started playing the game, considering that she was the first specialist I chose, or more recently, Battery and Prophet. Battery with her War Machine grenade launcher, and Prophet with his electrical rifle. I mean, these are tools that can obviously do an insane amount of damage. They can be really devastating to the other players, but they're very difficult to use. You really have to get yourself in the right situation, you have to be able to stay alive, and you have to understand how these weapons work to be really effective with them. I love that. It basically means that, you know, here are the specialists, they're easy to learn and hard to master, and I think that's always a great implementation, if done right, to any multiplayer experience. So to me, that's just, you know, it's another layer of depth. And the movement system, the specialists, they don't feel like they've just been put there for the sake of being put there, for the sake of saying, hey, look, we did something new this year. No, they really do change the way you play the game. They provide they provide a new way to play Call of Duty. You know, it really, to me, felt like an evolution of the series of Black Ops, and I totally dug that. Add in smaller things like the ability to swim underwater and actually engage targets underwater, and you've really got a nice little system that, you know, kind of makes the game feel a bit more special than it ever has before. So I'm all for that. I love what they've done with it. It feels great. It's as simple as that. So the last thing I really want to talk about are the maps, right? There's 3 maps available in the beta right now, and map design. You know, map design is very important to a multiplayer game. The maps have to feel, you know, highly replayable. They have to be enjoyable, you know, session after session after session. You know, I have to be able to play Haven 100 million times and not get bored of the layout. I have to feel like there's always, you know, some sort of way to kind of outgun or outthink my opponent. And when you add in some of these other elements that they're throwing into the maps, like water, the ability to wall run, I think the maps, like, they're more diverse, they're more complicated than they've ever been, but they also feel really good. Like, I'm in love with all 3 of the maps available in the beta. I don't dislike any of them. In fact, I love all 3 of them. I found them to be very enjoyable on. They all have their own sort of, like, you know, fantastical elements. The one map, you know, like I said, being able to swim underwater in those multiple locations, jump off the side of the waterfall, you know, after killing a couple guys underwater, and land on the other side of, like, the bridge and take a couple more guys out, that's epic. One of the other maps, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of these maps. I wish I really could. It's one of the more close quarters maps. There's some really great wall run segments. They've kind of taken the idea that, okay, we're going to allow players to wall run. Now, how can we make these sort of, you know, choke points that are kind of going to be, you know, like dice rolls? They're very much Russian roulette. You have to decide when you're going to actually engage in the wall run, you know, and when you're going to defend, because a lot of them, they're over portions of the map that are exposed to endless pits. So if you fall, if you lose your momentum, you get knocked off the wall, you're going to die. Also, if you run into another opponent, you guys could both miss each other shooting and both knock each other and both die. So there's some really great, you know, firefights that I've had on the side of a wall in some of the maps, and I think it's awesome to be able to say that. Like, hey, I was underwater fighting 3 guys with a light machine gun. Hey, I was hanging off the side of this wall, running at full speed, fighting 2 guys with a sub SMG. You know, the ability to hip fire and the ability to have guns up in all of these situations, it's just a gameplay enhancer. It makes for some really fun moments, and that's what video games are about at the end of the day. Remember that? I'm always saying that. It really clicks here. I've had some really laugh out loud moments running on the side of a wall, hip fire killing 1 guy just to get stepped on by another dude and fall to my death. They're comical, they're hilarious, and there also are some really heavy moments of tension. You're on that score streak, you're like 3 points, you know, 100 points, whatever, 1 more kill away from getting your final score streak, and like, you know that that's where you need to go. You jump up on the wall, there's 2 guys, you take them out, you make it to the other end, you call in your score streak. Like, that level of satisfaction, being able to deliver that in the middle of the game is just pure bliss. It's enjoyment. And I think people who play Call of Duty regularly, who have been playing the franchise, those are the moments that we look forward to. I know those are the moments that I look forward to, and it was nice to see them being thrown at me in well-measured handfuls throughout the course of the 3 maps. I really enjoyed them. I'm really looking forward to the other maps. I think that very rarely do I get excited about the maps in a game. You know, I think Halo did it big for me. Halo 2, you know, has some really genuinely outstanding maps, and Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 both had a very memorable set of maps for me. So here's hoping that Treyarch can deliver on the rest of these maps with Black Ops 3, because I love what they've shown us in the beta. I'm very excited to see what else they have, and hopefully that they meet the same level of quality that these 3, you know, have already shown us. They're great, you know, battlegrounds is what they are. They're very well designed. Treyarch, I think, is a developer that deserves a lot more attention. I think a lot of it is hidden behind the fact that they're making a Call of Duty game, so there's that vocal minority of, you know, the gaming community who just says, oh, another Call of Duty. But there are those people that are making sure that Black Ops 2 is like the #1 selling entertainment franchise of all time. That it outsold Ghost, it outsold Advanced Warfare, and I hope Black Ops 3 does the same thing, because I think it's well deserved. I think Treyarch really knows how to make a competitive multiplayer game like this. And I think that's the last thing I want to talk about, is how I know I didn't play a lot of it, And I know that they have a full mode that is going to be dedicated to esports, but I can already see some of the influences. There's just parts of the game that feel more consistent, and I think consistency is key when it comes to designing a multiplayer experience for esports. And I'm okay with that because I feel that games that are built with esports in mind, those of us who play on a more casual and more public level, we benefit from that thought process. And I feel like that stood out in a lot of ways inside of the multiplayer, inside of what I played at Black Ops 3. The only other thing that I have to say is that I'm excited to see how this game plays a month after launch. For me, Call of Duty sort of modifies, it changes, it, you know, sort of evolves 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks after launch. People pick up the game day one, they're playing it. A lot of people who aren't going to have played the beta, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're lost. They slowly start to develop their skill. They pick that specialist that they really love. They start to fall into their different playstyles with their different loadouts. Everything starts to fall into place. A month later, everyone's kind of playing in their own strengths and weaknesses. And I think there are people who, they don't get a lot of kills in Call of Duty. They don't go on 40-1s, but they have areas of the game where they are strong. They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they play to that. And even in public matches with full teams of randoms, you can have some really solid games that, kind of leave you grinning. And that's what I'm excited for, because I haven't really played a Call of Duty in that way since Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 is a game to this day that I pick up and I can play, and it's pure gunplay enjoyment. I don't even care about the score streaks, I don't care about the unlocks, just playing the game, having my set classes that I play, pistol only, knife only. It's that sense of metagaming that made Black Ops 1 and 2 so enjoyable for me. And I'm already doing that in the beta. I'm doing knife only, I'm doing pistol only, and I think I'm going to do a couple post-gameplay commentaries on both of those loadouts just for fun for you guys in the coming weeks. The beta is going to be dropping on the Xbox One come August 26th, but we've only got about 5 or 6 days to wait before those of us who pre-order on the Xbox One will get our hands on it. I'm not suggesting that you should go out and pre-order this game just to get access to the beta. I don't like that they did that. I hope they open the beta up at least for the last week on both platforms. But if you have the opportunity to play this game, if you're going to pre-order it anyways, do yourself a favor, check out the beta. If you like Call of Duty, if you like what Treyarch has done, you owe it to yourself to give this thing a go, because I think there's a lot to enjoy here. And if you're somebody who's just like the ultimate Call of Duty naysayer, your friend says, come on over, check out the Call of Duty beta, don't turn it down. Go give it a whirl. I think there's a lot to love here. There's a reason that I, still to this day, someone who's played Counter-Strike, someone who's played Halo, Gears of War, Battlefield, I've played them all for hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of hours on some of those franchises. I still say to this day that Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 are two of the best first-person shooters that you can play, and I hope that Black Ops 3 can be added to that list. I know there's some things I probably missed out on, some things you probably wanted to hear me discuss, so feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. Throw me some questions, throw me thoughts and opinions, and I'll get back to you guys as quickly and as accurately as I can. Look forward to just a couple more pieces of coverage. I don't want to turn this into a Call of Duty fest. I know not everyone is here for Call of Duty. In fact, I know that most of you are not here for Call of Duty, but I hope my thoughts and opinions on the game can shed some light on the beta, give you guys a little bit of an honest opinion on what somebody like myself thinks of it. Someone who doesn't play Call of Duty every day, who but definitely has enjoyed a few entries in the franchise. Hopefully I will see you sometime in the future inside of Black Ops 3. Maybe we'll run into each other, we'll come around the corner. I've got a Man of War, maybe you've got your Sheva. We both got our our weapons all gunsmithed out. Maybe you'll kill me, you'll pick up my weapon, and then you'll kill me a couple times, or maybe vice versa. Something like that. I'll see you then.